Right, hiya, welcome back. The General, I've got a little bit of an interim problem with it. Maintenance is the middle name if you want your bike to remain perfectly safe all the time, and I always try and look after the bike, make sure everything's working properly. Last few days, perhaps even longer, I've noticed. Can you hear that? Front brake's juddering on its way in. I'll show you, come and have a look. Let's bring you in. Now, literally in the last probably month, I reckon at the most, this has been getting worse. Now, me being me, I tend to think, yeah, I'll deal with that. Now that's front wheel locked. It never comes in that far, but even just two fingers coming into a junction, and that's no good at all, because each one of those little jolts increases the braking force, so you're getting a horrible jolt forward as you brake, which is just horrible. And I'm relying more and more on the back brake, grinding the rear pads out. So I'm going to deal with that now. I have a suspicion. I got this from a dealer, and I said to him, have you done a service? He said, yep, done all the service, done all the fluids for you, everything, every fluid's been changed. I said, right, great, happy days. I have a suspicion he's been telling me lies. I haven't checked in here, I've never taken this cap off, but I have a suspicion the fluid is well out of date, because that, to me, in my experience, that is water in the master cylinder causing the piston seal to jolt against the side. It's not sliding, because brake fluid is also lubricative. It lubricates the rubber seals as well as obviously uses a hydraulic fluid. And when you get this, it indicates that it's absorbed so much water that there's a high amount of water content in there, and that's causing the rubber to stick like wet rubber against something. It will just stick against it, and that classic brake fluid worn out. So I'm going to take this cap off and have a look inside. It should be a clear golden colour like it was on the last brake fluid change we did. If it's not, then I'm going to bleed it through and see if we can fix it without any messing around pulling this apart. I think it's just fluid only. So wish me luck. Let's see what happens. Right, usual rules of engagement. These screws can be pretty soft, but they are unmarked at the moment, so probably, could well be, this has never had fluid. 2005 bike, 10 years, quite possibly. They're not even tight. Not even tight. Nope. Now, if they're not tight, that indicates that obviously a loose cap lets more moisture in. It might have too much water in it, don't know. Let's bring you in, have a look. Let's see what happens. Right, so it looks like. Oh my God. That is what culprit. Check that out. Let's get you zoom back out. Check this out. I don't think for quite a long time I've seen brake fluid as skank as that. That is vile. That has got rubber from the inside of the hoses, brake pistons, the master cylinder piston which lives underneath there in the pump is a rubber seal, and the rubber comes off as time goes on, it wears, and this juddering business is kind of rubbing, and that rubbage against the side of the cylinder causes wear. The wearing mixes that rubber with the fluid, and that is absolutely shot. So I'm going to change that out. I've got a nice little tin of fresh unopened, so I'm going to bail this out as we do. I'm not going to bleed that through the system, there's no need to push that through, it's disgusting enough, but I'll bail that out, and then we'll bleed it through the bottom, through both sides. I'll show you a little trick, because this is a piggyback system which is a little bit different to the Harley, and you can see how it works. Right, let's get some kitchen roll and a plastic bag and get rid of that scum first. Ugh. My usual drill. Like I said, no need to bleed that through the system. That doesn't want to end up going through, there's no need for it. Here we are, just take it out on kitchen paper. Give it a couple of seconds, it just absorbs it all up, kind of drinks it. There we go, that's all gone. And one to wipe it out really, just dry it all out completely, get all that scuzz out of there. Right, that's that done. Dispose of responsibly. Right, dealing with dot 4, Padgett dot 4. Again, cheap as you like, not expensive, just the fact that it's new is its forte. So often people will buy a fancy fluid, a fancy oil or a fancy fluid for any particular job and then neglect to change it. That's the wrong way around. Doesn't matter if you buy a cheap fluid, as long as you change it on schedule or before. And this clearly hasn't been changed for a very long time. Let's get this off before I spill it all on the paint. Right, there we go. It's off. Just fill up, because I'm going to bleed it all through. And where we go from there. Alright, easiest way to show you this is the way the hoses work on this and the order to bleed them in. Same as in any other job, you just open up the bleed nipple there, put the hose on, bleed it into a jar. Pretty straightforward, I'll show you that as we go on. But what this has is it's the order you do it in. Many people ask if you've got a T-split up the top, so you have one hose down to a T-split, then two hoses coming down, one to each caliper. On the Triumph they do it slightly different, it's just the way that the designers make it that way. This is the hose that comes from the top, so if we trace it up, there's one hose from up the top on the master cylinder, that comes all the way from the master cylinder, one single hose all the way down, and it is there. That's the master cylinder feed. That then goes in and pumps that caliper first. Then after that, the fluid is piggybacked straight off this hose, which rolls over the top here of the mudguard and then works its way down to that caliper at the back. I'll come around the other side and show you what I mean. Easiest way to do it, you'll see there it is, that's the hose coming over from the other caliper, so it just piggybacks off there straight down to that one, and then you bleed this one second. So it's one single system. Effectively a better way to do it in my personal view. I've always liked that way to do it. You can either take two hoses straight from the master cylinder at the top and run them all the way down separately, or you can bring them down one and then piggyback across to the next, which is the way that Triumph choose to do it. I don't like a T-split system because you always get air in the T piece at the top. Right, so all I've got to do is clean this up. The problem I've got here, as you can see, is whoever's fitted this at whatever time has wedged that there. So if I get that little bleed valve cover off, and in fact I can't even get it off, that doesn't even want to come off because it's wedged by this. So whoever's done this up in the first instance has wedged that against the side of the bleed valve hard enough to wedge the rubber, which is an error. That's a mistake. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't put any force sideways on that bleed valve because it can snap off, crack the casting, which is just a daft way to do it. I don't know why it's been done that way. Hey ho, whatever. But what I'm going to do is, with a 14mm on there, crack that and just slide them in very slightly, probably a mil or two just to clear that, and then do them up. Yes, it will ingress some air undoing that, doing it back up. It doesn't matter, I'm bleeding them through anyway, it's irrelevant. So I may as well do it, get it right while I've got the opportunity. Right, so let's put the camera down, let's get stuck in. Right, some light on it. There you go, it's a bit better. Right, got a fluid full up, 14mm, best fit possible. Just holding those I don't want to undo this and that rotate and snap that off, so I'm going to put some pressure on the top of those to stop them rotating with the bolt. There we go. Just a little crack. There we are, just moved them in. Do it up. Now that can be lifted off, put back on, lift it off, no problem. I have to do it anyway, because obviously I've got to get a rubber hose on the end of there. Wait a sec. Right, let's just do those up. Get that space going on. Done. No fluid leakage. Good. Right. First thing, I just want to show you this. In the manual, the bleed valve always specs up as an 8mm. That's an 8mm open end spanner that is correct and 8mm. I've measured it, it's not stretched. That is 8mm. And yet this is 5/16 AF. Almost no play at all. So it's inaccurate, or they've used a 5/16 head. Whatever, it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. Just use whatever wrench or spanner fits as tight and snug as possible. Pop that on there. This has lots of room. Now all I'm using here, this, I've said this time and again, all you guys send me messages and say I should use a bleed valve kit, I should use this, I should use a self-easy bleed product number 66, costs extra, you know, etc, etc. But honestly, piece of rubber hose, ain't hard. This is an overflow pipe from a fuel tank. Used it for years. It goes on there, a nice snug fit, and with a coil in it, there, it goes in the jar. That is it. Now all I'm going to do, this is exactly what I've said in the past. Push it nice and firmly on. The trick is open the valve, pull the handle in or pull the brake lever in, then close the valve before you release. So pull the handle in, open, close, let the handle go. Pull the handle in, open, close, let the brake lever go. And that way you won't get any air sucking itself back in, because you're holding the lever in, which holds the fluid pushing outwards at the same time as you do the valve up. And if the valve's done up whilst the fluid's pushing outwards, no air can get back in, or fluid or anything. Right, let's get stuck in. Right, first break of this. Nice. Right, reach over the top. Reach the lever. Got long enough arms. So, pull the lever in, then open that. There we are, that's that one done. Done up nice and neat, tidy, no leaks. Right, to the other side. Alright, so finally, after 3 or 4 of these pots rolled through on each caliper, so about 6 reservoirs have gone through, and I always fill it up myself to the top of that glass and leave a bubble. If you can't see the bubble, you can't really see the level, so I always leave it there. And that is more than full up. Oops, sorry. That's full up. And that is way cleaner than it was. Clearly a lot of water in that. Right, let's put the top back on and we'll see if it's cured it. Right. Let's come on this side. Let's show you where we are. See me back out. That's it. And there we are now, just one finger. That's absolutely lovely now. Smooth, silky, no steps, none of that juddering. All cured due to rotten fluid. The rotten fluid contained water, masses of water. Clearly hadn't been changed for a long time. Dealer told me it had been. Liar. Never trust anyone. Look at that, beautiful now. No clicking, no juddering, just lovely smooth feel. Now what I'm going to do with that, good old trick, is I'm going to just pull that in, just bungee it in loosely, no more than one finger. Don't go whining on it, just enough there, gentle braking force, and leave it overnight. And what that does is it leaves the valve in here open, so that any tiny microscopic bubbles in the hoses will work their way up back to the top. There is always an issue with this piggyback system of going down to the near side caliper and then bouncing over to the offside, and that is that any air bubbles will stay in the hose at the top of here. But ultimately, if it does, just bleed this one through now and again and it will push them down and out. It's not a big issue, but it will certainly get any out of the bulk of the pipe, all of the left hand pipe, and it will all clear through, and you'll get that in the morning. That will be even more firm and more solid, because these are steel hoses as standard, so this should be a donk donk, and it already feels far better. None of that juddering. Job done. So there we go, brake fluid change, Triumph Tiger, took about 10 minutes. The rear doesn't have any problems, it was just the front, and I can only assume the dealer just blagged it. There's no way that fluid was 1 year and 10,000 miles old. That fluid was years old, probably 5 years. In fact, there it is. It's cloudy, it's brown, and that's diluted with about 4 more reservoirs of clean fluid, and that was horrible. That contains an awful lot of water. And there's the point, folks. The water causes the rubber to stick inside the master cylinder and in the pistons as well, down on the calipers, and that just deteriorates the quality of your braking, the feel of your braking. It's horrible. So when you brake at any point with your lever or your foot lever, if you feel a click, 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 or a judder or a squeak, little anything whatsoever in that lever action or the pedal action, that is exactly what it is. It's old fluid that's full of water, and the water is sticking the rubber seals to the sides of the piston as it's trying to slide down it. It's not lubricating properly, and you're getting this juddering, which could cause a wheel lock in an icy, frosty situation because you've got not enough braking. Give it a bit more, it goes click, it comes in far further than you want it to. You don't get any feel, it's just bang, it's right there. Front wheel locks up, and down you go like a sack of stones. All right, so there we are. Know your own bike, service your own stuff, make sure it's safe every single time. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.